Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to a series of passive fire protection webinars from Focus. Sharmaji and all other panelists to this series of webinars which Focus is going to conduct in multiple cities of about 6 cities in India, and possibly will continue this in further in another 6 cities later on. Passive fire protection has been a very important subject to be touched upon in the entire building life cycle. So the challenges faced by the end users, the challenges faced while application, and how well they have been used, whether they have been certified or the ratings have been checked, how the certification has to be done, and what is the right product for using in what condition. All that is going to be discussed during the sixth webinar series, what we are going to conduct. Today, we have experts from various fields, the fire officers, the end users, architects and consultants, and facility managers who will be discussing on this subject. And I hope all of you will get the insight into this compartmentalization and what NBC says, what other important standards say about passive fire protection and its usage and implementation. Thank you all for joining this series. Over to you, Dominic.
Thank you, Khan. Abhishek, we have
Very
two
good
videos
evening.
today.
Very good evening. We're going to start off with giving a background about Focus, and my good colleague Shilpa is just going to flash a quick video about what the Forum of Critical Utility Services. It's quite a unique platform that has been created by the stalwarts of the industry. So here you go, how we will all come together.
We are delighted to present to you the Forum of Critical Utility Services, the acronym of which is FOCUS. Much as the acronym suggests, the role of the Forum of Critical Utility Services is to bring in focus all that concerns the construction industry. This is not just for India, but for a coordinated construction industry world over. For those of you who may not be aware, this initiative is to prepare and present a platform where all the verticals of the critical utility services of the construction industry forge into one formidable group that will strive in building unity, aid in diffusing misconceptions, and present itself as a platform for discussions amongst these bodies of professionals. Our efforts begin with drawing the strength from the fields of architecture, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, safety, fire, security, illumination, vertical transportation, IBMS and IT, solid waste management, and last but not the least, facility management. Bring them together and forge them into one strong wheel of change to deliver structures that stand in harmony with Mother Nature on planet Earth. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is our mission. Only when we come together and share our ideas and aspirations will we find the stumbling blocks. It is here then that when we are together and focused towards one goal, we will jointly be able to understand and address our challenges as one formidable force. And this is our vision. Our invitation to you is open. Come and become a part of Focus. It is your contribution and support to Focus that will make a difference to the new India that is being created. Let's join and make this the Bharat that we wear. Shining, prosperous, bright, and a true world leader.
Fantastic and a beautiful voiceover bringing about why we are here and how we come together. And now Shilpa is going to play another quick video for the biggest supporter today, which is Orient Fire Curtains, the company that is enabling us to be together, to have this Charcha, the first Charcha that will lead to potentially several points where we can grow as well as enhance the fire safety brought about in our country.
Orient Fire Curtains is an Indo-British joint venture operating in India since 2013. Orient Fire Curtains has successfully executed more than 300 projects pan-India basis. This totals to about 3,500 fire curtains till date. Double-barrel curtain with overlap for easy access. Basement car park compartmentation. Office compartmentation. Staircase escalator compartmentation with corner support. Open kitchen compartmentation without corner support. Staircase escalator compartmentation without corner support.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you very, very much, Shilpa. And I think all the listeners can now probably increase the volume back. I'm sure everybody decreased the volume because it had become a bit too loud. So thank you very, very much. And we are pretty much on time. And I welcome all the stalwarts of the industry. We will have a sequence of questions in which I would drive around the discussion. I wouldn't take a lot of time in introducing each member. All through the panel discussion, you can read through bios of the experts. We have a fantastic panel which describes the flow of the construction project, right from starting with Roop, who will give a perspective of a developer who interacts with clients, who interacts with people who give them money to ensure that the construction gets initiated, the money everybody's running behind. And right from that point till when the architect is chosen, the consultants are brought into ensuring that the correct dream of the client is brought to fruition. And then a series of companies which are contractors, project management companies, suppliers, they all come in to quickly try and render the dream. But we have the authorities, we have Garg Saab, we have Sharma ji, and to share their perspectives on how really the checks and balances are brought in place. So we line up a very interesting debate today where we try to understand practically where is fire safety being discussed, where is it not being discussed, and also subtly bring out a better comprehension of what passive fire protection really is. One of the most important and something that does not really require electricity or water or chemicals or maintenance to function and ensure that life and property damage is minimized. So today we are to avoid going into understanding what is passive fire, what is all of that. We're going to go straight to the developer, and I'm going to start off the discussion with Roop to ask him that what is his view as the developer to understand, from your clients, from various stakeholders that come to be, where is passive fire protection or fire safety discussed or not discussed? Over to you, Roop.
Thank you.
What happens on the ground?
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very happy to be here as part of this August gathering of discussing this very, very important subject. So coming straight to the point, let's say, I'll share the perspective of the owner, from the developer's perspective, specifically what DLF is doing, and similarly from my industry knowledge, what I see as the opportunities and the discussions which happen in various ways of bringing about fire safety consciousness. So first of all, when we look at any new development, let's say any new design which is yet to happen, I think the inbuilt checks and balances and the processes which are already there as part of the design development to construction is already there, which takes care of the routine and let's say the important elements of fire safety, starting from compartmentation, then active measures, passive measures, and all that. Because when we look at the design, obviously there's a design brief which captures all the key elements. There is absolutely clear compliance with the codes and the standards which are required, which are the local authority requirements or requirements of National Building Code or any other similar standards. So those things are already there. And when the consultants are brought in, their brief and their capability and knowledge obviously immediately brings on board the important elements of the fire safety aspect, including the compartmentation and any other measures. So I think in the initial starting phase of a project, there is not really much challenge, or there's not much really any extra thought process which is required, because just the fact that a design is done by capable technical professionals, it goes through the approval process. The statutory authorities are very stringent in terms of ensuring that those things are there in place before even the initial, let's say, consent to establish or the initial approvals are given. So all of those are there. At the next stage, which is the construction, obviously it's a routine issue of construction. It's a challenge in the industry how much of safety is taken on board. It can vary between project to project depending on the capability and of the contractor.
I'm going to interrupt you, Roop. Sorry, I get you. This is fantastic, and I'm going to talk about what the architect does and what the contractor does and what happens in the construction phase. And as it is always, at the first point when someone dreams of saying, hey, I want this swanky looking place, and from what you've just shared, it looks like, there is nothing wrong. It starts very, very good. But I want to know just one very brief thing before I move to Sandhu Saab and take his view, is that I'm sure you have different clients. There are some large international investors, hotels, big brands, without naming them, who are, in my understanding, a little more particular about, fire safety because they don't get their insurances. And then you've got other people who just want the building quick and cheap, let's be honest. So how is this spread in the current scheme of things? And I'll just give you less than a minute to answer this before I move to Sandhu Saab, so that we can have a good debate.
Okay, I think it's purely the company's outlook and the thought process and the standards which the companies aspire for. so far as DLF is concerned, right from the beginning and throughout the process of the construction as well as the operations. And that's where it comes in. The systems are in place. There are a lot of audits which keep happening, apart from, of course, the initial design intent work and all that which is there. So I would say that all of these are actually well built into the system, and nothing really needs to go into an extra effort. The only thing which happens is in the operation stage, when a building is live and clients come in and they leave and things start changing hands, that's where the challenge comes in terms of ensuring that whatever standards have been designed and constructed are also being maintained and the upkeep is there, which normally gets done by the professional facilities managers as well as audits from the owner's side. So that happens. And apart from that, of course, the tenants, the clients themselves have their own checks and balances. There are things leaking down in the leases, in the lease agreements and all that, which normally always addresses this as the topmost aspect. And all above everything else, it's the management of the owner's vision and their commitment to safety, which is always there. And that helps a lot.
Okay, this paints a fantastic picture, and I'm going to leave it here, because I'm going to go to Sandhu Saab and understand that when architects get the brief, they often get a feel from among different clients what is priority for them. And I also really feel that what you've said, you mean that in the current scheme of things, the regulatory framework that exists, you think everything is okay. We are in good hands. The codes and standards are in the right place. And I'm going to come to Suresh ji later to understand what is it on books. And then Ashish ji is going to tell me what is it that probably really happens on the ground. So over to Sandhu Saab, as one of a very renowned, experienced architects in the country and in the region, please share with us, sir, what is the awareness among different stakeholders about fire safety?
No, see, this awareness among the developers and the clients, even emphasized by the end users also, which are multinational companies, is very much there. So the developers are very clear, especially Delhi NCR on all the large metropolitan cities, that they want to follow the building codes to the hilt. I will say we follow them 110%. 100% code and 10% is the requirement of the local fire officer. So we have to do a good number of time an extra thing also. And this, the NBC 2016 brought in this compartmentation, which is really helping the architects and developers to design, fire safe buildings. Especially this, principle of progressive horizontal evacuation in hospitals is a game changer, if you ask me, for the, fire and life safety in hospitals.
Right, right. Well, that's very heartening to know, and that's very interesting to know. And, the reason we are having this debate is that, my interaction, a lot of people who are, closer to the contractors or on the ground in the industry, we realize that probably on the ground, things are either not pushed properly or not delivered properly, because a lot of, in my understanding, compliance doesn't really get asked. And I'm going to come to that, after I go through the course of the conversation, because the feeler I'm getting from you is that things are all aligned, and which is very good. And I want to understand then, where is it that the line breaks and where the whole thread gets cut. So let me move to Sandarsh, who is probably involved in several other aspects after the architect, dreams up, comes up with the master specification saying, here you go, this is NBC, you have to follow this, I'm hiring this contractor, get it delivered. So what happens then?
So, Abhishek, when we say that we do get, the feedback, of course, from the architects as well. But frankly, if I share my experience, it varies across the country. If I say particularly about Delhi and Gurgaon region, I would say that, here we have some of the most strictest, fire requirements. Like, pan India, in basements, we can live with jet fan ventilation. But in Delhi and in Gurgaon, they want 100% ducted setup for both the fresh air as well as the exhaust, mechanical extraction. And then, of course, the fire officers, and hats off to them, they do their due diligence to review those drawings with the consultants, the calculations. So frankly, it is really varied. Delhi, Gurgaon, very, very stringent. And, we also as consultants, and I've also seen that developers also understand their professional like liabilities and responsibilities. They're making sure that their design is not just code compliant, but it is also, aligned as per the international best practices. Because, many of these assets, also have private equity funds who are playing at a global level. So when they bring in, the American or the European standards on board, so then, we have to also align, our requirements to that. And also, you see, when you read any of the Indian codes, or maybe any codes for that matter, they do not give you the design, they give you the requirement. Like, for example, they would say staircase pressurization at 50 pascals, but then the design is left to the design engineer. So the number of open doors, the leakages across the doors, the type of fans, where to locate that, multi-stage pressurization, all those things are then subject of the engineer, and the way it is planned. But what I've also realized is that, so I have worked on numerous projects in like Hyderabad, Bangalore as well. And frankly, there it is a completely different ball game. The fire norms, frankly, like in one of the audits which I did about 2 months back, there was a generator room in the basement, and the generator room is drawing in fresh air from the parking. It's a top developer, a very big renowned name, a large building. But then the question is, what happens if there is fire in the parking? So the very fire and emergency fire life safety systems designed, they are not, and it's very normal. You have all approvals in place, you have everything sorted. And, frankly, NBC would not really provide you the design level assistance. It will give you basic requirement, codes say this, and then it is up to the architects and the engineers to make sure how it is interpreted and brought into the design.
So I'll cut you here to understand that, what you mentioned, and I know there are lots of places where people can come up with noticing non-conformities in buildings that have just been built. So in your understanding, where exactly something goes wrong here? Like, what could have gone wrong? It was designed properly. The intent of the top developer is absolutely bang on. Nobody wants a fire in their building. Absolutely nobody, right? So where does it go wrong? It's designed properly. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it is that, you will find that the architects are regulated by the Council of Architects, COA. You will not find that thing with MEP consultants and fire and life safety consultants. So what is happening is that level of an understanding of building fire and life safety systems is not there, because you see, a developer, and a good developer, as you very correctly said, Abhishek, they want the best. They want to be mentally free, that it's a fire and life safe building. They get the best insurances, the best tenants, but then they rely on the experts to give them a building like that. And therefore, that is, the biggest of the biggest names also, but you would not find them, really diligent or trained with the fire and life safety aspects of a building. So I think that is where I feel is the big gap.
That's very interesting. I'm going to urge all the people who've logged in also to please keep sending your questions, because we intend to take, considerable number of questions, whichever we can, towards the end of this discussion, which is heading to a very good direction. So what Samdarsh has brought out is that the specialist consultants are probably require a little bit more of probably awareness on these matters. And I think this is a fantastic area for focus as an entity to, what I can say, focus on. And I'm very sure we are going to do it as an entity which can provide these platforms where such learning can happen. So I'm going to quickly move to Sureshji. I know he's timed up, and we had a conversation. Sureshji, what is the legal requirement? Where are we now, and do you think there are areas of improvement on codal and legal requirements?
Yeah.
You mute, sir. You went on mute.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. Wonderful. Nice to hear all our speakers who have come there. As you're all aware, the National Building Code of India contains the wonderful provisions on all aspects of fire and life safety, as already indicated by Samdarsh rightly. It's got the passive as well as the active design issues coming on fire and life safety in a large way. And in specifically coming down to the topic that you got on compartmentalizing fire and saving lives over there, NBC 2016 has got a great clause number 4.5, which talks on compartmentation, very nicely brought out over there, primarily to limit the spread of fire and smoke in a large way, and the type of leakages that can come into fire ducts or grills or floors, etc., or shafts and cable holes, etc., how to do that, and how do you deal with the whole compartment physically into the walls as well as doors and related one, and fire barriers as the choice that can be done for making the compartment component come over there. Fire curtains have been suggested, like the good film that was shown there, to create a compartment where the independent door people can pass by, and the clauses which are there, especially barriers, have got to be penetrated, like a duct work, or plumbing work, electrical work. Passive fire protection requirements is required. Integrity of the building is to be maintained. This is the most important thing for a compartment to work for the way it's been designed there. While minimum areas have been identified for the compartment there, how many compartments can be given on a floor identified, what can be the fire resistance rating for that particular compartment elements to make it over there. The maximum size of compartments for the basement car parking is about 3,000 square meter. Other parking is about 2,000 square meter. Hospital buildings was mentioned about 1,800. If it's institutional building where the movement of the people is restricted, it's about 1,125. Mercantile building about 2,000. Assembly building about 2,000. Like that, they're given the clear values for different classification of building, which you asked rightly, Abhishek, in a very large way. And multi-level basements, when he comes over there, how we can take care of the type of systems required, the what can I say, the proper smoke plugging, purging in a large way from one basement to another is equally an important component. And the most important point, which you said on the progressive horizontal evacuation, which will be required from the point of view of the life safety, becomes an equally important component. And once they come down to basement fire, in a fire barrier and using fire curtain, including K23 sprinkler, details are available. You also have special information for metro stations for the compartment. And like last one was the genset there, separate requirement or the emergency power backup system, what type of requires the compartment. So all these requirements are there. From the code, flows. Yeah, from the code flows.
I'm going to cut you, sorry. I get this, and this is really good. We have a lot of experts who are good in the code. I have a very two specific questions for you if you can answer. Compliance, which means what is in the code and what is really happening on the construction site, is usually measured through either testing things, which are materials, or inspecting workmanship on the construction side. Is there a legal framework in the country which will define who will get fined or punished if this job is not done by whoever it's supposed to be done? And how does it roll out in the NCR region, as you know, Delhi or the states? If you could share testing or performance of materials.
I'll make it very brief. Out of the codal requirements is available in the NBC, which is a recommendatory guiding document. It gets a mandatory status when it finds a place in the regulations which are local. Like each one of the states got the Fire Service Act as well as the maintenance of safety issues over there. So each of the local body or state adopts or adapts the NBC to the extent possible. I would say really 80% have already done that without much of a change, which is a good thing. And then the two components come: compliance by the people who are identified, the builders, the architects, the specialist consultant on fire, and that will be done in the compliance component. But as rightly brought out by our speakers there, by Allah, they try to, depending upon the discerning owner of that, international owners or big developers, and they're very keen to ensure that's done, because the techno-legal regime is important on legal requirements, technical requirements which are made a legal binding to get a building permit. I'm sure when the local bodies people speak, they will give that particular thing. And therefore, enforcement is to be looked after by the fire brigade people, where the NOC is coming at the planning design stage, during construction, and the completion stages. You have to do that. And now they're also making for the renewal certificate after a certain amount of time. So it is really working in a very large way. And once this comes over there,
does the building code, does the national building code or any
Yeah.
of the local laws empower, let's say, the fire department, when I ask Sharmaji or somebody to say, hey, I found out that there was a generator in the wrong place or the doors were not labeled, that who, as part of the contract, saying, there is a contract between, developer and the consultant, developer and the contractor, architect and the consultant, etc., who can potentially get punished or fined when someone finds an error before the move-in certificate? Is there, does someone have to?
There is a responsibility and accountability as well fixed over there. That is where the real enforcement aspects will come in a large way. Who can be hauled up to deal with that particular aspect is identified. But I think it's also it's there. But I thought two issues, maybe half a minute only. Maybe the requirement from the point of view, all the approvals in place is important, because it's also required by the bankers who are going, techno financing regime people, bankers and financing institutions going to implement, ask for the compliance of the NBC. RBI has given out a direction recently on that. And the insurance authority have to insure the particular building. So it's the financing aspect which will impinge on technical requirements. So the combination of all these together, that's happening. So if you ask me, at the end of the day, with my experience for the whole country, where do we stand on a 1 to 10 scale? I would not put it more than about 5 or 6, except you have big metropolitan cities with big developers, big architects coming. India has about 7,400 cities there, a lot of development coming, a subcontinental proportion. I would not put more than 5 out of 10, but a lot of things required done, even at the local body level, fire authority level, architects and engineers and the consultant, MEP consultants putting their act together. But as you rightly said, awareness creation is important, then the appreciation comes, then the application follow. And I'm sure events like this will help you in a big way.
I will come back to you when I go to Ashish ji and towards the end, because we already took out one point which Focus can focus on is to train and bring about platforms on fire and life safety consultants. Ashish ji, what really happens on the ground? Ye sab to theek hai. It all is good. What is it that, when your team members are at the construction site facing everyday tough decisions?
Yeah, hi, Abhishek. Very good evening and good evening to all. So now, of course, I understand this. So while you are saying so, so from the experience of the project management industry and executing various projects, so what, of course, all speakers have spoken about that, of course, we are very good as it comes to the compliance part, adhering to the National Building Code or the local fire safety code. So focus the initial phases or during the construction phase, of course, that's deemed there. So there's no doubt about it. So no developer client wants to violate the statutory norms. So from that, passive strategies as specified in the NBC or the active fire protection system, so those are very well covered and those are being talked about in the pre-construction phase and in the construction phase as well. But what, of course, this subject, what we are discussing it here is the passive fire strategies. So I would, of course, from the construction, doing the construction of complex projects, so what we have seen, like few areas like the activities like filling of the cavity barriers. So while we are talking of the compartmentalization, but what happens where the fenestrations happens, you are puncturing the walls, you are puncturing the ceiling or the floor. So what probably materials to be used for there, or for the compartmentations, we are talking of 30, 45, 60, 120 fire hour rating. So the different kind of materials which are available, which forms the boarding systems. So those areas and other the fire resistant material. So which are probably for every material or the MEP installations products would have a different fire rating, fire response to the behavior towards the fire. And of course, these days, of course, we are doing a lot of steel structure building. So the retardant coatings over to the building envelopes. So these are the areas where we see as project managers. So there are no absolutely clear-cut guidelines which are being specified initially in the pre-con stage, tender stage. So those are totally left to be, I would say, researched, brainstormed, or left to the experience of the construction contractors to finalize during the execution stage. So I would say in these areas, so this forms the important elements of the passive fire strategies. So these are, most of the areas we are following a bottoms-up approach. So that holistic approach is still not there. So of course, as a project manager, we should, of course, while we start a building, we should be able to finalize and give all these specifications at one go to a construction contractor. So here I feel, of course, in the construction, of course, these areas, it does not happen.
So I am going to draw this to the third point that, first, Sandarji said that there needs to be a better training of fire and life safety consultants. And this is probably connecting exactly with what Ashishji, you and Sureshji just said, that the codes exist, the standard is there, it gives the correct guidance, but there is a lack of comprehension of how to really do it. There is no guideline. So probably, another area where work can be done, probably by focus or the industry coming together and funding something from Naredco's side, is to create a practical guide to the code, to put things to perspective. And before I call Sharmaji also and take his views, passive fire protection starts from the type of building that we are in terms of occupancy type. Sandhu Saab mentioned that there has been changes in compartmentalization and evacuation strategy of hospitals, correctly and rightly so. When it comes to airports and commercial complexes, where products like fire curtains provide a very good and a quick compartmentalization strategy. But someone has to make a fire and life safety strategy plan at the phase, at Sandhuji's phase, at the architect's phase, and before the construction starts, saying we need 55 compartments in this building. We need 300 doors of the hotel or the commercial mall to be 90 minutes, 180 minutes, or 60 minutes. We need the walls rated, but not just that. It has to define compliance and how it will be done. And this is an area where I want to bring in Sharmaji to understand that when someone goes to the construction site, finally saying, okay, we want to give you the move-in permit, which everybody is super enthusiastic about, ki bas ab ho gaya, building aane do. There are so many areas. Ashishji talked about through penetrations, openings in fenestration. Do you have the requisite tools to verify?
No.
कि ये fire door है नहीं है, कैसे हो रहा है काम? So this is where the real thing happens. I want to know your views.
Okay. Well, I think there is no problem so far as designing is concerned, so far as implementing the things, spending money, everything is being done properly. There is no problem on this count. Problem is, when we say compartmentation, suppose we think of an air-conditioned building. Now, number of AHU, they have to be compartmented separately. Nothing should be crossing from one AHU area to other one. So this is a larger compartment. So this is what are we ensuring that now when we go for ceiling thing, we can see below the false ceiling. Now, can we just check it above the false ceiling? So we depend on whatever statement is given. Yes, it is done, we accept it. Otherwise, opening everywhere and saying is not feasible. So this is not being done so meticulously. I can just say that. And many people they are not really aware of that, the intricacies and other things to be seen that way. So these 4-hour, 3-hour inspection, these are not feasible. So this is one thing. Next thing you mentioned, yes, active fire safety measures, there is no problem, they are provided. fairly good. They are maintained also. Initially for 2-3 years, so long this is in contract with the earlier contractor. But after that, the maintenance is a problem that we have seen in our government buildings and other buildings also. So this is one area where we lack and things do not work. Third thing is, we see that where we go wrong. We provide everything. The doors are provided, costly doors and all that, and they are deliberately kept open by putting a stone over there. I've seen in the government hospital, newly constructed building. It's a 9-10-story building, and incidentally we had a fire also in one of that building. So system is done, everything is verified. Still we had a fire, and the smoke management system feeding the smoke into the staircase lobby. The system was checked, found okay. Now something has gone somewhere wrong, whether duct intake and this thing were together. Now these are so many areas. Things are there provided. Enough rules are there, enough laws are there, we are knowing by and large. But when we see that operationally, how the systems have to operate, that probably awareness on the part of architects, on the fire people, when they go for verifying and all that, that much is required. That awareness is there, and people using it. There's again for them. You provide everything, you have got curtains or what doors and smoke management system, everything is there. But somebody has to really know about these things and operate in a proper sequence. And that is to be done before the fire brigade arrives. So for that, fire brigade will come later at a later time, but before that, everything is supposed to work. And one more thing you asked legally, what is that? Yeah, fire people, they are authorized through the Fire Prevention Fire Safety Act, State Fire Act. Every state has got this act, and they have framed the rules also. Most of it, they have the act. Some of them, they have not been able to have the rules. So they can apply that act, and through the rules, they can have how to go about it, how to enforce the rules and regulations, punishment and all that, owners and occupiers. Well, this is something we always say that owners or occupiers, they are whosoever is looking after the maintenance, they will be responsible. So now that is feasible, but only we really go into these areas when there is a fire, some people are caught, they die or something like that. So that's the only thing. We don't look at these things in a peacetime. So this is what I think the time limit is there. So this is.
No, that's perfectly fine. And this is really providing a lot of insights, what Sharmaji also said. And I want to, pick up some of the points that have been brought out back to the panel themselves. I'll start back with you, Sharmaji, only, that if as a fire department, is the fire department empowered to go to a construction site while construction is happening and check if there is something that is wrong or not? Or is it only...
No.
Or not? Oh, we lost you there.
We can't make out anything. What is going to come up? Which way it is there? Right. And we are not really trained to that extent to see that going and come up. No, we are not here to do that.
The reason
it's not feasible for a fire department.
The reason I bring this question out is that I'm going to share this with everyone now, as the panel as well as the listeners, that how this aspect is closed in different countries.
Yeah.
In certain countries, there is a contractual requirement. So between the developer, which is here, let's say Roop is there, the developer will have a contractual requirement saying that these 15 aspects of fire and life safety need to be inspected throughout the course of the construction project for compliance to the code, and overseeing the work of the subcontractor would be hired by the consultant. So someone like Sandarsh or Sandhu Saab's company is entrusted to hire these people, but the reporting is given only to the developer.
Yeah.
Or in some cases, the hiring again could be done either by the developer or the consultant, but the in situ reporting every month, every 15 days when the floor is laid, etc., there is a report that goes to the fire department as a check that is available. So this is a very interesting mechanism which already exists in many countries, where the codal requirements either dictate these or the contractual requirements. So there is a developer who wants to be perfect. They don't want anything going wrong. So the developer comes up with clauses which have a commercial linkage. saying इतने लाख की penalty है अगर हर महीने ये वाली report मेरे को नहीं submit होती है, as an example, right? So then when that report starts coming to the developer directly, not to the main contractor who doesn't want the project to be delayed, who doesn't want that this wall has to be broken down and built again, or saying these doors are wrong. So I'm sharing this as a learning that either this has to be filled in commercially, which means the developer wants to be 100% sure because developer has just heard from the fire authority कि ground reality पे कई बार नहीं हो पाता है, right? So he says, oh, I have to buckle up. What should I do? What change can I bring? I will add 3 commercial clauses to my contract between me and, let's say, the contractor. Or Suresh ji and people in the code committee are able to direct a legal change saying that there has to be another department, another set of entity in the government who is the enforcement agency in the construction industry. So I am just sharing one part where things can potentially change. So open to you, Sharma ji, you wanted to say something and
yes.
then...
Only thing is that once we approve the plans, normally everything is discussed. Everything in totality that is discussed. But if there are some deviation, changes are incurred, which is affecting any means of escape or anything like that, maybe firefighting systems, then they have to come to fire department. So
right.
It doesn't affect anything. That is the normal understanding as of now.
So this is great, and I'm going to ask anybody who wants to butt in to raise their hands, and I'm going to let them speak. But my question is, this happens everywhere. This happens in Dubai. This happens everywhere. Every 15 days, the contractor will run back to the fire authority. मेरे को ये change करने दो जी. I want to design and re-engineer this and re-engineer that because there is cost everywhere. Everybody wants to cut. Let's be honest.
Abhishek, can you unshare the screen? Everybody wants to see the participants on the whole screen. So yeah, this is more people able to connect with each one of them. So this
sure. So about 40 minutes of reading bios, everybody knows who is who. Thank you very much.
Most of the people are quite familiar in India. They don't need to be an even introduction, so they are quite familiar faces
Perfect.
in India. Unfortunately, Mr. Atulji left the panel because he wanted to. He has some emergency meeting, so we continue this session.
Correct. No, this is great discussion happening because we are taking away some very interesting learnings, in my opinion. Because when I interact with the contractors, when I interact with subcontractors and manufacturers in India, there's a lot of gray that happens everywhere, and I really want to draw out the next steps that we could probably change at individual organization level that can start driving some change forward. Ashish ji, over to you. You have your hand raised.
Yeah, no, sure, Abhishek. I think while you have been, of course, raising the valid points, and there has been, of course, a lot of improvements which need still to be done during the construction phase. So also just to answer what you are saying, so what we, from our experience, what we have seen, that while you would have the contract document between the owner and the contractor, construction contractor. So at times, so what we have seen is, so the linkages of contractor and the accountability of the material supplier, that does not exist. So you have to rely, as I was mentioning earlier, we have to rely on the experiences of the experts, lessons learned during the previous project, and then implement or recommend, discuss with the technical consultant on the approval of a particular product. But on the same side, of course, so the accountability and incentive pressure to the supplier is not there to continuously improvise on its quality delivery of the product. So of course, so maybe of course in current couple of projects where we have seen there, of course, by virtue of the occupancy type standards of the NBC, so certain regulations of the test reports which has been requested by as part of the mandated in the contractual documents, so those are required. So, but of course, so as the project managers, we rely on the test reports provided by the manufacturer and discuss it with the technical consultant and take their approval. But of course, I agree. So there's still a need. So those products to be tested by a third-party agency, so that of course those at least we get a quality assurance of that particular product. So which of course at this point of time in the construction execution of the project, we feel this is of course one area which can be worked upon.
Abhishek, just want to introduce Dr. Sanjay Tomar. He's been deputed by the DFS, so Delhi Fire Service. He's the Deputy Fire Chief of Delhi. So I have added him in the panel, and I want to welcome Dr. Sanjay Tomar.
No, I'm first of all at the outset, I just have come to know I really missed Atulji. I couldn't see him, that he was somewhere in the panel. I really missed out on calling him. So please, if someone can pass my apologies to Atul Saab, I think I missed reaching out and taking his inputs. I never realized I couldn't see him online. Hello, Dr. Sanjay, how are you? Thank you so much for joining in. Can we hear Dr. Sanjay? Is Dr. Sanjay in?
Yeah, are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can hear you now. We can hear you now. Sorry. Welcoming you to the panel, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm Dr. Sanjay Tomar, Deputy Chief Fire Officer in Delhi Fire Service. I am representing Shri Atul Garg, who's Director Delhi Fire Service, who is in a meeting right now.
Okay, okay. Please, Dr. Sanjay, do pass my apologies. I think I missed him. I couldn't see him online, and I thought he was not able to join in the session. So thank you so much for representing him. What do you think in Delhi as a fire service, as compliance point of view? Do you think there are some more teeth that can be given to you, or some more tools that you can evaluate or check lack of fire safety being implemented while construction is on?
Am I visible?
I can't see you. We can't see you. No, no, we can't see you. I can only hear you, and but your voice, आवाज बुलंद है सर, हम सुन रहे हैं.
Okay. First of all, let me tell you that Delhi Fire Service is one of the best service of India, and we are implementing all the provisions which are there as far as compartmentation and pacifier systems are concerned, because we have a system of approving drawings, and while recommending the fire safety guidelines, we tell the clients, or we check the fire compartmentation whether that is available on plans or not, whether it's a parking or the latest amendments in National Building Code. We call the clients and ask for the to show us the compartmentation on the drawing itself, and then we give recommendation. We generally give recommendation for the pacifier system as well. And once the building is completed, then we check personally, and we train our inspecting officer and to check whether all the compliances as per the, suppose there is a fire check door. So latest amendment in IS specifications are there. Earlier there were no mechanism for checking, and there were no lab certificates, and the whole gamut of checking the fire door, whether it is meeting the requisite criteria for insulation, integrity, and stability is there or not, because people are not having any kind of details of how to check a fire door test certificate, whether it is from CBRI Roorkee or from other labs in India. So fortunately, we are now having a revised version of IS specification, which do tell, and we recently hold a seminar or a workshop organized by some door manufacturer, giving the information what we need to see when we are inspecting a building, and what are the things we have to check on a fire door.
Yeah, this is very, very good input, Dr. Sanjay. और ये मेरी दुखती रग पे आपने हाथ रख दिया. Talking about fire doors, I get I get super excited about it. And that's mainly because this is an issue not just in India, but in many, many countries, is that the construction industry, which would mean everybody from the consultant to the contractor to the fire department, relies on a test report that a door is fire rated door. And as a laboratory and as an individual who has been in the compliance industry for 20 years, I would like to share this with you, that any product manufacturer who sends a sample to the lab only for testing builds the best product and gets it tested. And what really comes on the site, on the construction site, is more often than not something completely different. And this is a very, very big area where learning is happening in many countries. And I really wish that through better specifications, which are probably driven from the developer or the architect or the consultant, or from the regulator as Delhi Fire Service, that this thing is evaluated on the construction site. A fire door, which is so critical, when the fire door manufacturer wants to install their door in our lab for a fire resistance test, first of all, it's the best product that comes in. It still fails many times, and it is installed by the experts who will make sure that the installation is perfect. The door is not skewed, the hinges are perfect, which unfortunately there exists no traceability. And only in certain cases where people rely on international standards, somebody would talk of American standards or maybe British standards and refer to some large international certification bodies saying UL or certifier or Warrington certification is a good means of assurance. And here again, and this is the point where someone would end up spending much more money. You would pay 1.5 or 2 times for a certified fire door. But is there somebody checking that was it the same certified fire door whose documents were given is being installed? And Sanjay ji pointed out some very heartening news. Dr. Sanjay mentioned that some manufacturers did a workshop to share insights on how to check whether fire doors are correct. And this is so heartening to know. And I am very excited. I'm very excited to share that you are talking about the new Indian standard. And as a lab and a certification body sitting far away from India, we are probably the first international certification body that is providing certification and listing to 10 standards from the NBC. These 10 standards for fire rated doors, for fire rated partitions, horizontal, vertical, load bearing elements, which are coated fire protection chemicals, we provide a listing evidence on the certification directory. So the tools that Dr. Sanjay's team or Sharma ji's team can very quickly use when they go on the construction site and say, hey, ये तो फायर रेटेड डोर है नहीं क्योंकि यहाँ पे तो लेबल नहीं लगा हुआ है, or whatever traceability does not really exist. So this is almost like a shout out to all the stakeholders, that what is it that you feel you can do as a change to bring about using the fact that we know that fire doors which are just tested may not necessarily be supplied on the construction site. Something that is submitted as a drawing and approved by the fire department. And when the project management company says that on the construction site, people are not trained to put what is in the code on the construction site. So what is it that can change? It's an open question to the panel.
Yeah, I can answer that. I work for DMRC, and there was a provision that out of the supplied doors, we send one door, we certify one door, we select one door, and we, as a client, we send it to for CBRI Roorkee. And I myself had checked more than 10 doors. and out of which some of the doors failed during testing. So in my opinion, there are very few people who know how a door specimen is being checked, what are the requirements for a fire door, and what are the criteria for a fire door to be tested, whether it is a fire rated, how many elements are there, like stability, integrity, and stability. It is for 2 hours, or for stability or insulation for 2 hours or less than 1 hour. So there are many elements, and fire officers among India needs to be educated. So in Delhi Fire Service, we organized a workshop, and the latest provision of the Indian specifications, which has been reviewed in the year 2021. And it is necessary for all the state government fire officers to be educated, because unless they are educated, they cannot ask. They go and just simply, as you said, that they provide a certificate, and nobody knows what to check on a certificate, because I think it is compulsory that a certificate must be having the drawing of the door which was tested, and the durability or the duration of the test certificate which is there, because people just show 15 years old or 10 years old door certificate, and there is generally no drawings available which kind of door test they are producing. So it is very important that all the fire officers must be educated. They must know what are the changes being done to the Indian specification, IS 36 something, and knowledge is the answer.
Well, that's very heartening to know that focus is right here. And we have some wonderful manufacturers who have been training you, manufacturers like Orient Fire Curtains, who are here to help us enable these discussions, these dialogues, as well as bringing out the point. Samdarshi, I see your hand raised. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So, I would even state an example, Abhishek, that of course, we specify fire curtains, and we have also seen instances where they do have a certain fire rating, but then they have failed at site. So I think it is very important that, first of all, we have to, also appreciate that maybe a project can have hundreds of fire doors and maybe hundreds of places where fire curtains are there, which frankly we cannot test. We cannot even expect the fire officer to go and check each and every door. So I think the first and foremost thing is that as developers and as consultants, what we specify, the brand which we are using, the specification which we are making has to be absolutely foolproof. And we have to work with those brands who are known for their integrity in the market, because then there are brands who are honest to themselves and then to the clients as well. Because when we do make a tender document, it's a contractual obligation for a brand or an OEM to fulfill that, to deliver that product, that curtain, that door, which meets that specifications. And then, yes, when it comes to the individual developer, site team, or the consultant team, or the fire officer, so as Dr. Tomar mentioned, we can do that sampling. If there are 100 doors, and suppose if there are 100 doors, but maybe 5 typologies multiplied by 20 of each type, so we can test maybe those 5 just to be extra sure. So I think some kind of that thing, but I think it depends upon having a more mature market, ensuring that developers and consultants are conscious of not just going for the lowest one, but a brand which is known for its integrity, who has got the requisite certifications from good testing labs, like yourselves, I would say, Abhishek. So yeah, so that's from me.
Thank you, Samdarsh. And before I take on Roop, who has been raising his hand, and Sanjay ji and Abdul Sattar also, I just
want to... a few participants, Abhishek, wanted to participate live, questions with all the panelists and all that. Would you like to do it so that there are couple of hands raised, like Sahil was there, wanted to ask you a question. So there are a couple people. So with your permission, can I allow?
Yes, please. I think, the first 30-40 minutes, I was very much careful about the time. And the moment I started speaking, I just completely lost track of the fact that we are beyond the hour, and I was supposed to take questions 15 minutes prior. So thank you so much, Dominic, for showing me the cane and saying, "Chalo, wapis aa jao." Yes, please go ahead. I mean, let's take about 4 or 5 questions, because this can potentially be an endless debate. Go ahead.
Abdul Sattar, aapke liye.
Hi, good evening.
Please do introduce
Thank you, Mr.
yourself.
Abhishek. It's a wonderful presentation, and we got a lot of knowledge and we learn about more about passive fire protection systems. My question is, okay, according to the discussion, what I understood is actually some of the observation which is come out from the audit side, and some of the observation from Mr. Ashish Verma was given a fantastic observations on the project side. So basically, my questions are actually, if you are looking for NBC 2016, that is also wonderfully classified by sir, actually the compartmentalization and the details. My question is actually, when you are going for a pump room, the pump room wall integrity shall to be 2 hours fire rated. This was the what is called the requirement, and according to that, some of the pumpers in India, if you are looking, most of the area which is provided the glass. So the wall rating is 2 hours, and the glass integrity rating is nobody knows. And secondly, the pump rooms are maybe the specification says we require 12 ACPH. Then there is number of fans will be available. So this, if you are looking on this scenario, how we can say that building is 2 hours fire rated completely? That is my question number 1. Secondly, once we are submitting the fire strategy drawings in the department, the architects are submitting the fire strategy reports. According to that fire strategy reports and the fire scheme, we will get the NOC. So once we are getting the NOC also, we can see in many states, the different kinds of opinions are in the NOCs, because some of the states, they will completely copy and paste the NBC codes as a comment. And some of the states, they will mention all the complaints shall to be fulfilled, then only the NOC will be valid. But nobody is looking that part is also, because the construction time, the timeline is more important in all the projects. So to save the timelines, basically the people are aware of the fire and life safety systems, but normally they will not give that kind of a priorities. So who is going to take the responsibility, the legislation responsible person? That shall to be identified from the government. Then only I think we can eliminate a little bit, this kind of errors in the construction time. Then I just want to know one more thing is actually, while we are doing the while we are doing the compartmentalization in a big warehouses like 1 million square feet area. So if you are providing a fire curtain or permanent passive fire protection partition, then the operational issues will be there. So what will be the best solution for that? Then somehow in NBC it says car parking area, we can go for the water curtain systems. So if you are providing water curtain,
I got your questions, Abdulji, and quite a few of them. And before I, pass on to the experts who may be able to share a bit of what they know about this, your questions are 3-phased. You're talking about code requirements and how code requirements may not be practical in certain scenarios. This is number 1. And this is often contentious, but it is also open to innovations. And there are people who are very innovative to not only comply to the code, but sometimes you may miss out the real intent of the code requirement, and you may be doing something that can help you fulfill the code. So I think a code discussion we should definitely take offline, and please do share your bearings. We can have a separate email conversation, and I can loop in Sureshji and others who can talk about it. The one thing that I will impress upon Abdulji is compliance. And this is something that is very close to the whole conversation, where everybody said that training is required. We need people to be able to distinguish what is good, what is not good, what is compliant to the code and not compliant to the code. And these tools are available. Testing can be done. Certification and listing allows evidence. As a laboratory based out of Dubai, we have so many manufacturers who are testing their products from India to us, and we give special offerings to a contract or a contractor, that if a construction is going on, if a building is going on, someone wants to pick up 2 doors and test it, we offer that on priority basis in terms of time as well as money. And I think these are very, very good tools that are available. But yes, some of your questions, sir, we will take a bit offline. I can see Suresh ji's hand and Sanjay ji's hand. And after that, we're going to take, I think, 1 or 2 more questions. Shilpa will probably unmute them. Suresh ji, over to you.
Yeah, very, very briefly, I already put the reply. Raman Kapoor is the only one who raised a question. It's on the Q box there. So I given a reply to him that clause 4.5.2, sub-item number 5 is already giving the information that he wants. He's worried about exhibition area where stalls are there, where 12 meters to 16 meters high. The story heights are, the space is high there, in terms of the volume there. So what do we do with that? So that gives a reasonably good amount of information to cover, which is also very briefly brought out by the last questionnaire, Mr. Abdul, on especially logistic spaces and warehousing spaces be applicable. Kindly look into that. I agree with you. We can take these detailed discussions, specific clause 1, separately in another particular session. This will dedicate to the Q&A, where we'll also get in Arun Kumar, who is the Director of Civil Engineering of the BIS, who can also be there. I already find that one of the officers, Mr. Chowdhury, is already there, who is now dealing with the NBC Part 4 as well as CED 22 and 36. He's already participating in the session. I'm sure we can have that going, which will specifically on what clause, interpretation, and what request to be done, etc., can be taken separately. But I'm very happy it's already raised the issue. But since he raised it, I give a reply also on the answer box. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Abdulji, I would encourage you to drop an email. You have all our email contacts, or you will have Dominic's email. We will have a separate email discussion, and I think probably your question could lead to improvement. Thank you very, very much. Sandhu Saab, over to you, and then we will take the next question. Shilpa can unmute the next.
I will add on to Sandhar. She said, the MEP consultants, they are not, trained. So similarly, even architects, very few architects have appreciation for building codes. I think BIS and industry should take lead, and they should have certified architects who are aware of the building codes and the fire and life safety issue. So industry and BIS together should train. Like we have green building, certified architects. So why can't be there a life and safety certified?
Very good.
MEP
good suggestion.
I think this is a fantastic suggestion, and I'm pretty sure the focus as an association and Dominic as a management, as part of the management of the association, should see this coming. I am giving a suggestion, Suresh ji, to you also, that maybe we can, as focus, come up with a curricula, and we can issue certifications to architects.
We can do that. It's a fantastic idea.
To MEP
I like Samdash has brought a very important point, very close to the truth. I'm sure Sandhu also agrees with that. So therefore, this is an area which requires to be done. And maybe we have 140,000 architects, which are under the Council of Architects practicing now. I agree with him. Not more than around 10%. That's a big number. Around 15,000 and 20,000 is a big number of practice. Even that will be slightly overstated by me. Would have reasonably good understanding the way Sandhu spoke, the way Samdar spoke over there. That's an area which requires especially trained, because they deal with the passive design of the building. Spaces are designed by them. You require increasing awareness for them. We can do that along with the Indian Institute of Architects, along with focus, special program, we can do that. And I think it's a fantastic suggestion. I welcome that.
Now we have, we are entering into coalition partnership with RICS, which is called RICS, under which we have International Fire Safety Standard, IFSS. So very soon we will be, focus will be rolling out certain best practices they have. We'll be having certification.
But Dominic, but Dominic, the concern here has brought out both by Sandhu Saab and Samdarsh ji is that practicing architects would require increasing exposure on all these integrities of that. While they deal with so much aspect on that, on the fire and life safety and this compartment, we can have exclusive training programs which can be organized. We can also bring in terms of certificate. That's the point that is making. RICS is one more area. That's a chartered surveyors one. They will do it. But there we are talking at the level of the practicing architects and civil engineers. We should do that. I think I agree with you. MEP people know it.
Dr. Sanjay also brought about the same thing, that more training, it's still less. So I have a small question to you, Sureshji, and maybe someone from BIS is also here, as you mentioned.
Yes.
If Focus starts a curriculum, so we create a curriculum on, let's say, different chapters of the of the National Building Code, would it require the blessings of BIS to be a certificate program? Or is it something that can be done independently as an independent association?
It can be done as an independent association, knowing well what BIS will be happy to give blessing, because you are helping BIS to ensure that information contained in the code is fully known with interpretation, limitation. All these things are told to the practicing professional. They'll be only too happy to do that. Many are already doing that. Such type of IGBC does it for the green certification for accredited professional, rightly brought out by Sandhu Saab, already brought out. Like that, we can easily do that. Focus also. The idea is they're all trying to get in the right question they're asking. Why are, in spite of it, compliance is not happening? Compliance is by the professionals and the builder, and enforcement is done by the local body. They are also, both Tomar as well as Sharmaji said, we require a lot of upgrades to take place even for the people dealing with the fire regulatory authority also. So it's a clearly understand compliance related thing. We need an increasing level, at least to deal with buildings beyond a certain amount of horizontal area and vertical height. Only those architects who are with the right level of specialization that should be associated, something of that nature should come, and we can be facilitated to deal with that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Sanjay wanted to comment.
Sir, one more thing, what I have experienced, that the large exhibition halls are coming up in Delhi, and they are really a challenge for the compartmentation and the know-how of the officers, as well as the checking whether the fire curtain they have provided are as per the international standards. Not is a problem in Delhi also, and we are facing a lot of problem that the things are not happening for large areas, like having exhibition halls or having height of more than 15 meters. So
yeah, that is a question which asked by Raman Kapoor, or which I given a reply 452 clause 5. Covers some information, and maybe this is also an opportunity we should open out on that on the NBC Part 4 revision, 2016 version, 6 years old. We'll open out where clarity is less on that. We'll bring out additional information. I'm sure our colleague from the BIS who is participating will also note that, who is in the meeting. Thank you.
That all we are studying and we are implementing as far as, but I am talking about the practical difficulties at site, because none of the vendor is implementing those things in a proper way. And we are seeing for the first time that how to compartment through a large exhibition halls, through very big size fire curtains. So all these things needs to be all these fire officers needs to be educated, and we must hold a international seminar for educating the state officers, state fire officers.
So I think before I conclude, I think, and before I ask Dominic to do a conclusion and closing, because some of the questions seems to be calling for an email discussion, and they may not be able to we may not be able to address them. There are 3 points that I would like to summarize today's whole case of interaction. One, which is the most important, is that there needs to be a practical training. Codes and standards are in the right place. The intent of the developer is in the right place. They know this is what they want. The architects have a very high degree of understanding of what the requirement is. Yes, these requirements should be asked contractually. It is when the project and the work starts to happen at the ground reality where there is gap in implementing the code. Practical questions come into play, like Abdul asked, and so many other questions that kept pouring in, saying, can you tell about this clause and this clause and this clause? Yes, there needs to be more training on code and implementation of code. Dr. Sanjay and Sharmaji also brought about matters relating to compliance. And I have a feeling that a lot of people in India completely rely on existing mechanism saying so-and-so laboratory report is good. And I'm taking an initiative. In the coming days, I'm going to draft out maybe 10, 12 key bullet points, and I'm going to share with the panel, with all of you here right now, in the next 5, 10 days, that this is compliance, how it is entered in contracts. Very specific. What is it that you need to call for, and link a commercial clause with it. ये वाला कागज नहीं जमा कराओगे तो इतना fine है. And it gives you the right tools and arm to say, well, this is what needs to come on the construction side. So someone like Ashish Verma and his team, they can say, देखो भाई contract में लिखा है ये कागज चाहिए, नहीं होगा तो हम आगे नहीं बढ़ सकते हैं. That kind of thing. And I would offer myself, and Dominic G is listening, that I would love to come up with a program on compliance and code and compliance. Maybe Suresh Ji and a lot of experts that you know can talk about the code, and we can take clauses by clauses, the chapter 4 or part 4 of the NBC, and run probably I don't know, 10 pages per session, and do 5 sessions and talk about this is what it is, this is how it needs to be checked. So this is the second takeaway that I am taking from this. And the last is, I am very happy that we have had this congregation. We have had this discussion, that all of us are bringing these things out. And I'm happy that we have these connections among all of us, that when we have doubts, maybe we can drop a line and ask these people. Over to you, Dominic. I think we are close to 1.5 hours. And we need to probably close the session. But yeah, I'm available. We can go on having this discussion all day.
Yeah, I'm sure Dominic will be telling the next round. We are only first among the 6 events. I'm sure Dominic will have the pleasure of doing that, so that we'll have increased level of participation coming. And that's good. Our participation level was increasing throughout the program. I was seeing the number of people physically on the event. Good.
I want to thank our sponsor, Oren Fire, especially Raman Kapoor. One phone call, he always come forward whenever there is a knowledge series that we exchange or a seminar. So I want to thank Raman Kumar and Sai for coming forward and supporting with one phone call. And I want to thank all the panelists, especially I want to thank our chapter chair, Ashish Verma. We've been working on this since last 1 week. To get maximum exposure in Delhi and NCR area. And I'm sure this is just a beginning. All this while we've been talking about fire safety in general, or more about active fire, but not much discussion happened on the passive fire, the way to test, the way to see the performance. So it's good that from Focus, we have taken this subject and we are going across the city, because the fire challenges in Delhi is different from Mumbai, and it's different in Pune. So we wanted to bring in again the experts in Mumbai. Our next session will happen in 15th of July. It's an initiative of Mumbai chapter. Again, we will have the fire chief of Mumbai. Then we have Director Maharashtra, Mr. Santosh Warik, fantastic knowledge person. So he will be there. So this is just a beginning. It's not that we have done with, and we will continue to do this session as long as Delhi, be the safest city in the world. So knowledge is something that you can't stop. It's a learning, continuous learning. I want to thank Roop, Samdash, Mr. Sharma ji, very passionate fire officer who fought the Upar cinema. Everybody knows about the background. And then let's see. Thank you, sir. We will again, we request you, those who are not member of Focus, from this panelist and also the participants, we have shared the link to become a member. So we need good platform, good people, good experts to join in and share their knowledge. And finally, to our moderator, Mr. Abhishek Chabra, who joined in from Dubai. and it's always pleasure to listen to him. The way he moderates, I'm also learning a lot from him, how to conduct the webinar. So everybody is a teacher. So wonderful to have you all, and we will share the details, the questions, the chat that we had to all the panelists. And finally, our president, sir, the most youngest person, most energetic. You can't, he's growing younger day by day. The leadership that he carries, the kind of charisma he has, unbelievable. So thank you, President, sir. With your inspiration, motivation, we will continue to do this program.
Good.
And as you know, Delhi will be having that ESG conference very soon in the month of September. It is again driven by Mr. Ashish Verma, talking about ESG and sustainability in a different form. So look forward to see you all again. God bless you, and see you soon. Thank you.
Yeah. Abhishek, special thanks to you. Wonderful the way you did it. Okay. And of course, all the distinguished panelists did a great job. Each one has brought in so much value on the table.
And I forgot to mention the name of our Dr. Sanjay Tomar, the very knowledgeable
I was about to say, Tomar was missed.
Deputy Fire Officer from Delhi.
Sandhu,
He is there in most of
Tomar.
our webinar. I want to thank Atulji and Sanjay Tomar for coming forward, and also the people behind the screen, Shilpa, and we have Lakshmi and Keshav, who did all our marketing effort. Thank you all very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Would it be on the, are you going to put it on the YouTube?
Yes, sir.
Session?
This will be on Monday. This will be on YouTube for circulation.
That will be useful information to everybody, all the participants, and inform all participants, and including the panelists will be very happy to know that.
Yes,
They brought so much amount of value. So much amount of value.
Certificate also will be issued. Those who want a participant certificate, that also will be issued, and the recording of the entire session also will be shared with everyone. Sir.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.